I want to start with a number, $72.1 million. That is the total prize fund Roland Garros just announced for the 2026 French Open, nearly a 10% increase from last year. Alex Eala is in the main draw, not a wild card, not a qualifier who snuck through the back door. World number 45, direct entry. Her ranking put her in that draw because of what she has done on the court over the past 12 months. The wins, yes, but also the losses, and more specifically, the way she has refused to let those losses be the last word. I need you to understand what that means before we get to Paris. You know Stuttgart. If you have been here for the last few weeks, you know exactly what happened there. She walked into the Porsche Tennis Grand Prix, drew Leylah Fernandez in the first round. World number 25, 2021 US Open finalist, one of the most experienced competitors on the WTA Tour, and she lost. 6-1 in the first set. Clinical, fast. Fernandez was locked in from the first ball and offered almost nothing to work with. The second set looked like the rest of the story. Fernandez broke twice, pushed it to 5-2, and every rational observer in Stuttgart had already moved on to the second round. And then Alex Eala broke back, held, made it 5-4, saved 2 consecutive match points, still fighting, still refusing, still finding the next point when there was no logical reason left to look for it. Fernandez's coach spoke from the box at that moment, the line that tells the whole story. She's not going to go down easy, as you can see. She's going to fight. You're going to have to take the match. That is a character evaluation delivered mid-match by a professional coach watching his world-class player get pushed to the edge by a 20-year-old who was already a set and 3 games down. And then, after the match, on court, live, on a microphone, Fernandez said something more. She praised Alex Eala's grit, not her technique, not her shot selection, not her serve placement, her grit. Fernandez said she saw herself in Alex across that net. She remembered watching her at the Rafa Nadal Academy years ago, a young girl already moving fast, already striking with that instinctive aggression that coaches notice before the rankings ever catch up. And she said that same quality was exactly what she faced in Stuttgart. That is not a compliment a player offers out of courtesy. That is a scouting report delivered by a top 25 professional who has spent years on this tour and knows the difference between a player who fights and a player who genuinely cannot be finished off without someone physically taking the match away from them. Leylah Fernandez took that match. Alex Eala made her work for every point of it. Now, here is the question being asked. The tennis world, broadcast booths, coaching circles, the analysts writing about her, is sitting with a genuine question right now. What is Alex Eala's biggest problem, and when does she solve it? And it is a fair question. The clay results this season have been honest about where she is. Linz the week before Stuttgart. Stuttgart itself. 2 exits on clay that the scoreboard records as losses and moves on from. The surface has been the hardest chapter of her professional career. That is just the truth, and it deserves to be said plainly. But here is what the scoreboard cannot record. Leylah Fernandez, a player who has faced match pressure at the highest level this sport offers, looked at Alex across that net on indoor clay in Germany and issued a public statement about her character. 3 weeks before Roland Garros, in the middle of a match, she went on to win. That is the answer to the question about her biggest problem. Her biggest problem is that the results have not yet caught up with what she actually is. And clay seasons end, Roland Garros does not. Let's go back to the number, because $72.1 million is not just a prize fund. It is a statement from the tournament directors of Roland Garros about what this event is and what it is becoming. A 10% increase in a single year. That is not inflation. That is an organization deciding that the women and men competing on that red clay in Paris in late May deserve to be compensated at the level the sport has reached. $100,000 for a first-round exit. $3.25 million for the champion. For Alex Eala, this matters in a specific way. The players ranked between 30 and 80 in the world, the group she currently belongs to, are the ones who carry the weight of the qualifier rounds, the early rounds, the matches nobody outside the core fan base is watching closely. They are the ones who grind the clay season in Stuttgart and Linz and Madrid, not because the results are always going to reward them, but because Roland Garros is at the end of the road and Roland Garros is worth it. She arrived at that road and walked the whole thing. Linz, Stuttgart, Madrid this week, outdoor red clay, WTA 1000, the full field, everything that leads to Paris. And she earned her place in that draw with her ranking, every step of the way. Coco Gauff is the defending women's champion at Roland Garros, 22 years old, 2 Grand Slams and counting. A player who has spent the last 2 years building the kind of consistency that turns a great talent into a generational standard. That is the bar. That is what the draw at Roland Garros asks of every player who walks through the gate in Paris. Alex Eala's game was built for this kind of competition. The speed, the aggression, the left-handed instinct that takes time away from opponents and disrupts the rhythm that higher-ranked players have spent years building. It is the same quality Fernandez saw in her across the net and recognized from her own game. The same quality her coach said, mid-match, under real pressure, he needed his player to be ready for. That quality does not disappear on outdoor clay in Paris. It gets a bigger stage. There is something else worth saying about where Alex Eala is right now that does not get said clearly enough in the English-language tennis press. She left the Philippines as a teenager, moved to Spain, enrolled at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, one of the most demanding training environments in professional tennis, built on a philosophy of relentless work and zero shortcuts. She spent years building her game thousands of miles from everything familiar, carrying the weight of being a national symbol before she had a top 100 ranking to justify it. Millions of Filipinos watching every match, not casually, personally, with the kind of investment that no marketing campaign manufactures, because it grows from something real. Pride in seeing someone from home competing at the level the world told her was too far away. She ground through that pressure and she kept climbing. US Open Junior Champion. WTA ranking that climbed slowly, methodically, match by match, top 50 in the world. And now, for the first time in her career, she arrives at Roland Garros as a main draw player. Not as something that might happen someday, as a fact that has already happened. Stuttgart did not break her. Linz did not break her. The clay season that has asked the hardest questions of her game has not found an answer that says stop. What it found instead was a top 25 US Open finalist who had to stand on the court after beating her and use the word grit to describe what she witnessed. That is where she arrives in Madrid this week. That is who walks into Roland Garros at the end of May. $72.1 million on the table. $3.25 million for the champion. $100,000 as a floor that her ranking alone has already guaranteed. But floors are not where this story ends. The French Open draw is open, and Alex Eala's name is in it. Not as a hope, not as a someday, as a fact. So here's what I want from you. Roland Garros just raised the stakes by 10%. The field is the best field in women's tennis. And Alex Eala, coming off 2 clay losses where Leylah Fernandez praised her grit on a live microphone, is in the draw as a direct entry based purely on her ranking.